I'd like to ask you about, I've got my early reading copy, The Monster of Her
Oh,
Age. You've
I
got the
got
real
mine
thing.
too.
Oh, no, you've got
Yeah,
yours.
no,
Sorry.
not the real thing. It's
Yeah.
still, I haven't seen the real thing yet. The real thing went to print on the 1st of June.
Oh,
So I'm
wow.
hoping to have it in my hot little hand in the next couple of weeks, I
Oh,
hope.
that's super exciting. Well,
Hmm.
yeah, like for our audience, if they pick this up in the shop, what can they expect?
Oh, you asked me to do the elevator pitch. You know I don't
You
like doing
did.
an elevator pitch. Oh, gosh. Okay.
Pitch your book.
This is the story of Ellie Marsden, who is 17 when we meet her. She's the grandchild of acting legend Lottie Lovinger. And when she was younger, she played the child monster opposite her grandmother in an indie horror movie. But when we meet her, she's 17 and she's still reconciling with a not very nice experience that she had on the set of that movie. And it caused a big rift in the family, particularly between Ellie and her grandmother, Lottie. But she comes home to Hobart from Melbourne because Lottie is dying and she needs to finally settle things with her, maybe potentially, forgive her or have it out with her one last time if that's a possibility, but it's actually not. While she's in Hobart, she meets a young woman called Ria, who is the founder of a feminist film club at the State Cinema in Hobart. And the two of them meet and everything changes for Ellie.
Lovely. Well done. That's out of the way. I've always liked, and you've kind of included it at the front of the early reading copy, but maybe just for the benefit of others, can you explain a bit about where you got that first seed of the idea in the interview you did, I think in like 2016 odd, and then how it developed over time until now?
Yeah. I have, first and foremost, there's a reimagined film history, Australian film history in the book. So the Lovinger dynasty, the Lovinger acting dynasty is kind of mirrored on the Barrymores because I have a huge crush on Drew Barrymore and I always have, for as long as I can remember. So I've inserted a little bit of fake Australian film history in there. I've made us a lot grander than we really were during the golden age of cinema and the talkie era. I've kind of given the Lovinger acting family roots dating back to the Kelly Gang, the very first moving image picture ever in the world. So there's that. And part of the reason I did that was because I'm obsessed with film and television and I love gossip sites about celebrities. I love celebrity culture in general, embarrassing as that can be.
It's a safe space.
So yeah, so that's like one side of it. And I'm very much a big fan of classic Hollywood. I'm also a huge fan of horror films. And one of my favorite horror films is undoubtedly The Exorcist. And one of the reasons I love it, I think, is because Linda Blair had a really interesting journey in that, playing a child actor, the one who was possessed. She actually, later on in life would talk about how she had it a bit rough going back to school after The Exorcist came out and how her classmates kind of demonized her. It was that, but also it was The Exorcist when it came out. It was a huge scandal and the Catholic Church was really against it as a film as well, even though it arguably did a lot for Catholicism. It got people believing in demons and possession and the devil, right? But the Catholic Church at the time was very anti The Exorcist. And Linda Blair caught a lot of that flack as a child actor and it was really kind of devastating for her. So that's why the quote at the very start of the book is a quote from Linda Blair where she says, "The Exorcist has been a very interesting cross to bear," which I just think is one of the greatest lines from an actor ever. And I just wanted to head nod to that. So that had like a kind of genesis in it. I think as well when I was in high school, interestingly, I was a scholarship kid at a private school and one of the fellow students at my school who was a year below me was one of the Saddle Club actors.
Oh.
And this was when Saddle Club was actually on the ABC.
Yeah,
so it was a very big deal.
Yeah.
Very big deal. And I just remember the one day, so this was the Australian actress that went to my school, but one day the other two actors, who I believe were Canadian, came to the school and she took them like on a little tour around the school. And I just remember all the little preppies with their faces against the triangle, the like diamond fencing, just looking at them and just being absolutely hypnotized by these three Saddle Club actors who were absolutely lovely and so poised and graceful, considering they were being treated a bit like animals at the zoo.
Yeah.
So that always stuck in my head. And then I was at Books at MIFF, which is books at the Melbourne International Film Festival. I sat opposite a producer of a pretty big Australian horror film. And it just occurred to me to say to them, Can I have the number of the child actor's parent who was in this film? Because I'd like to interview them. I just got some questions. I think knowing my obsession with The Exorcist and Linda Blair at the back of my head. And this producer amazingly said, yeah, I'll set that up for you. So we had an email introduction. This parent was actually themselves a child psychologist, which I did not know.
Yeah.
So I approached them and said, look, I have this idea to write a novel about what goes wrong if you play a child monster in a horror movie. That was as much as I got. So this parent was actually able to talk me through the things that they had asked of the film production, the things they wanted to know before allowing their child to say yes and sign off on being in this film. So they were the perfect example of the parent that you do want in your corner. And then I was just able to flip it all on its head to say, well, okay, what if you didn't have an advocate like that? What if you had someone that did not think about your safety emotionally, physically, socially, etc.? Let's just flip it all. So it was a few little gems germinating for me, actually. And then I think it all coalesced around the fact that I am obsessed with horror movies. I just love being scared. So I kind of leaned into that. So it all went into the little cauldron bubbling for the novel idea.
Wonderful. And I mean, I fully witness and validate your love of horror movies. You'll have to tell me about them secondarily because I'm a massive wuss.